Good morning, Andy Taylor here with Red Rock Roofing, where we stand for greatness. I'm at 1319 County Road 34 here in Berthoud, Colorado. I'm going to do a quick inspection video for the roof. So the first thing that I want to point out is that the home has lots of intake for its ventilation. So this almost continuous softening that you can see is really good for the home. So great design right up front before I even get onto the roof. The gutters are a 5-inch seamless gutter. They do have good bracketing. What I did notice is that, obviously on the front here, it's a little bit loose here and has definitely put some damage to the very eave of this part right here, and the shingle is wearing loose. Right above that, we can see that the home was used valley metals in the valleys. That's really kind of an older technology. I'll show you in a few others that these are starting to rust out down at the bottom. But valley metal is a floating product that essentially sits in the valley. With that, when shingles get nailed down to them, offer penetration points for water to get to this vulnerable crease that is here. So next thing I want to detail is going to be the home's lack of drip edge flashing. Drip edge by code is a 2x2 inch L-shaped flange that goes over the fascia here, goes back under the shingle, and just encapsulates all the eaves and rakes of the home. This again is now code, but what it does is prevent from any wind-driven rain, ice damming runoff, and ultimately water migration. So back when the home was built, it wasn't code, but now has become. So like I was saying, the valley metals have rust on the edge of these when they're exposed like this. It really, when it was, kind of something had to be in the valleys, and that was the technology back then. The new stuff now is ice and water. That's a self-healing rubberized membrane. Actually adheres right to the decking and becomes a membrane instead of just being a valley metal. So what I did notice on the south-facing slope, there's all kinds of granule loss and then all kinds of fiberglass showing through on the bottom of the shingles. This essentially is, at this point now, a wicking agent. It can start to help pull water into the shingle, and then you lose more granules sooner over time. So there's thermal cracking up here because the ventilation on this roof is really higher than lower down here. But I mean, just the south-facing slope alone, you can see how much granule loss there is and how much fiberglass is now showing through on these shingles. I'm going to go up and around this side. What you can see is that I don't know, there's not a lot of collateral damage to the soft metals up here, but some of these older gray spots look like at one time they could have been hail on the roof. In order to get insurance to buy a roof for hail, though, this has got to be dark and black, and the event had to have happened within the last year. So any of these spots that I'm looking at, a lot of the times they're more just wear and tear and granule loss from ventilation. Make my way up to the top. I did notice that all of the nail heads, well, most of them are uncovered with any sort of silicone on them that keeps the nail head from exposing itself. Like this one, you can see it's rising from the surface, and that can become another vulnerable penetration point for water to get in and migrate. There are a few spots on the ridges where there are open holes. Luckily, there's another shingle that's right underneath that, so it's really showing that out here on the very edge. And I'm going to stay mostly on the ridges of this roof. You can see that it's exposed down to the inside, and there are definitely some wasp nests and dirt and whatnot that have gathered underneath that. So let me make my turn, try to be very, very safe. I'm going to go down this valley real quick. And I apologize for the length of this video. There's quite a bit to detail on this roof. So right here where your furnace flue is, and I can feel that it's on, it's working right now, it's very hot. A lot of your nails have emerged from the surface here, and those need to be tacked down and then sealed with silicone. But you can see and hear that that's moving around. This is my first experience with a double up plumbing penetration that's coming out in essentially the same area. So it's not very often that you see a boot jack that is cut so close to the other boot jack that's there. And I think there's a main reason why we're using plastic on these is to make sure they're able to cut that. Metal would be much harder and it wouldn't be as good of a seam to do so. But boot jacks nowadays are metal on these with the rubber grommet. So all of these should be painted now as well. With the new roof, they all will be painted. The skylight looks good. On here is what we call collateral damage. So you can see some of the hail indentations from the previous storms that have come through here, as well as on the rain cap here. So there is identification of storms here in the past. I just, again, don't have a storm event here that's large enough to register for insurance to get them involved. I'm gonna make my way over to the chimney area. So here with the chimney, and this is something for a masonry person and whatnot, this storm collar is not completely keeping water out of this. Any wind-driven rain that's coming through here can definitely get up underneath this piece here. And you can see that on the backside, this is moved in the past to possibly hold it down further on this side. I think this should just be dropped a bit and then resealed around it. Looks like there was a boot jack change up here, at least at one point in time, because this one is now metal while the rest of them are plastic. The ventilation on this home is minimal. Back when it was built, you know, there was a code amount that you had to put on the roof, and you wanted to make sure. This home is an amazing candidate for a ridge vent. Ridge vent would go all the way across the ridges on all of these and give what's called a convection. So the Bernoulli effect, when wind rushes over my exterior baffle ridge vent, would create a suction, actually pulling air down and through those lower softening that I was showing you, that continuous softening, and you get this convection. The vaulted ceilings would pull it, you know, in between the decking and the insulation that's there, would be really good for the home. Another spot where you can see down where the ridge meets the roof, there's a hole in that shingle as well. So all in all, there's lots of wear and tear here. Obviously, this is an older roof. It's had plenty of years to be up here, and I do believe, you know, it is, if we can get 15 to 20 years out of a 30-year shingle here in Colorado, we're doing extremely good. This roof could definitely use a replacement, just in the fact that it's missing so many granules. So you do have a spot where a shingle has flown off of the roof here. Not necessarily a problem, but obviously when get fixed, it will all be back to normal. So I can see here in the valley, there's a spot where the granules are kind of, you know, they're losing more granules in this valley. And I think that has a lot to do with the metal and the valley metals that are there that are really heating that section up. And it's kind of conducive to all the valleys here, especially in the south facing ones. But then you look at the north facing slope, and because it doesn't get sun all year long like the south does, it doesn't have that very same problem. So you guys have a lot of plumbing penetrations, a lot of boot jacks on this home, which is great for your plumbing, because your plumbing needs that air to be able to move around in the system and funnel water. There's not a lot else to bring to your attention. I do feel the roof has, you know, seen its best days. Does it absolutely need a replacement? Probably not. To do all these different repairs, though, would definitely change the aesthetic of a lot of these places. I think if you decided to do a roof, I would love to help you with this. So again, Andy Taylor, Red Rock Roofing. I very much appreciate the opportunity to get out here to bring you up to speed. I want to apologize again for the length of this video. Real big roof. I wanted to detail what I could so you could really see it. Thank you, and I'm going to go ahead and sign off. Andy here again, just going to detail a little bit about the garage. Like I was saying, for the home, the south facing slope is always going to be the slope that gets sun all year round. So right here under the turret for the middle of the garage here, you can see the fiberglass that is showing through. All of that silvering, as we call it, again, can be a wicking agent, start pulling water into the shingle, which in turn will help it lose granules even sooner. This again is a beautiful candidate for a ridge vent for this garage, and it has currently one turtle vent total for the whole garage. This north facing slope obviously doesn't look as bad as the south facing slope does, but I think this shingle, if I'm not mistaken, is a GAF weathered wood. It looks really close to an Owens Corning driftwood, but they all kind of match to make it. Missing drip edge, of course. You wouldn't have just put drip edge on this one and not the home. But again, beautiful property out here. I greatly appreciate the opportunity to bring you up to speed.